let's talk about A Duet with the Siren Duke by Elise Kova. Hey guys, I'm Marlene and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the fantasy romance novel A Duet with the Siren Duke by Elise Kova. Before we dive into that though, be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring that little bell so you don't miss any videos. I upload writing advice videos every Wednesday and book reviews on occasional Fridays, like this one. And if you want to read a fantasy adventure novel with plenty of romance to go around, check out my novel To Wear a Crown. The universal book link is in the description box below. You can get it at all online retailers and you can request it at your local bookstore or library. Now, A Duet with the Siren Duke. So I will be reviewing this book using 6 categories, which I will then average out to get to a final score out of 5. So those categories are plot and pacing, world building, characters, romance, writing style, and overall enjoyment. Let me read you guys the blurb for this book. She sold her soul to a siren, and now he's come to collect. Victoria risks everything to leave a dangerous marriage and gain a second chance at life. But when her escape goes awry, she finds herself caught in the strong embrace of a mysterious siren, forced to choose temporary salvation or immediate death. And so a cursed deal is struck. 5 years later, Victoria is alive and the world's finest ship captain. But her debt to the siren looms while her conniving ex has demanded a king's ransom as the final price of her freedom. Victoria refuses to cause her family to suffer any more on her behalf and is determined to make things right before her time is up. But that time is cut short. The siren comes for her 6 months early. Taken to the magical and deadly Eversea, home of the sirens, Victoria discovers she's the sacrifice upon which all sirens pin their hopes. If they want to appease an angry god and save a world on the brink of destruction, then they need her, which gives her the perfect leverage. Victoria strikes a new bargain. The Siren Duke will help save her family and she'll fulfill his demands. It's a good bargain, until a flicker of passion ignites in the scarred remnants of Victoria's heart, threatening all she's worked for. As the sacrifice for the god of death, she's meant to give up everything that draws her to the world of the living. But that's impossible when all she can think about is how this handsome siren's song and his hands make her feel very much alive. In a realm of ancient magic, submerged secrets, and forgotten gods, can love find a place among shattered hearts as they race against time and the blossoming of forbidden desires? Or will the delicate songs of their hearts be silenced once and for all? A Duet with the Siren Duke is a complete standalone novel. It's for readers looking for a fantasy romance with deep lore, second chance love, sacrifice, forbidden and slow burn romance that sizzles on the page, and a happily ever after where love triumphs all. While it is set in the Married to Magic universe, readers can start with this book as all Married to Magic novels are standalones. In my opinion, that is not a great back cover copy or blurb for a book. I feel like it is very wordy. It essentially tells you the whole story. But, you know, Elise Kova knows much more about selling romance novels than I do, so she knows what she's doing, probably. So, as you heard, it is part of the Married to Magic universe, which is essentially like a series of standalones set in the same universe and that have kind of the same basic premise. So the first book that came out was A Deal with the Elf King, then there was A Dance with the Fey Prince, A Duel with the Vampire Lord, and now A Duet with the Siren Duke. I read all 3 of the other novels, quite enjoyed them, so I was excited for this. But I'm not that big of a siren person, so I was also like, let's see. So first let's look at plot and pacing. It had good pacing and a solid plot. It didn't blow me away, but it was fine. The stakes were set out clearly. There were some twists and turns. There was consistent pacing, no sagging anywhere in the middle. It was nothing to write home about, but I've definitely read worse. It's just this is my least favorite of the whole series. And like I said, that might be because it's about sirens and it's all underwater, which just isn't really my vibe. But yeah, I can only read a book as me. And to me, it was a 3 out of 5 in terms of plot and pacing. Then world building. It was quite difficult to wrap my head around the world in this book, which is interesting because it's a world I've read books in before. All of the other 3 books are set in the same universe, but I couldn't really imagine much of anything that was happening. I kept trying to kind of remember how stuff fit into the previous novels, with the lore and the gods and even some of the characters, but I couldn't really remember much. And I don't know whether that's just a me thing or whether it's a complicated mess that is difficult to understand. So there was that aspect of kind of not being able to situate it completely in the world, but also of not really being able to imagine anything. Everything takes place underwater. And although Kova does explain kind of the mechanics of that and how it works, I still couldn't really imagine it. I couldn't have like a tangible image in my mind of how this was happening. So the whole time I'd be reading and just, seeing it in a normal situation and then reminding myself, oh, but this is happening underwater, and then trying to imagine it that way, but it just kind of took me out of the immersion and made it difficult to really fall in love with this book. It is an interesting world, but I just feel like there's almost not enough effort that was put into the world building for this specific installment in the series. It just wasn't my scene, I guess. So I'm going to give world building a 3 out of 5. Then characters. So our main character is Victoria. I actually liked this character quite a lot. She's strong and independent, but she's not obstinate. She is actually willing to sacrifice herself once she figures out why it's important and why people are hoping that she will do it. And she's willing to actually do the work for that. She has a past. She's not a character who's falling in love for the first time. She's been married. She's gone through quite a lot. She's gone through a divorce, an ugly divorce. She's become a great ship captain. So she has kind of had a chance at romance before that didn't work out, which is an interesting take, I think, for a fantasy romance protagonist. And she has a lot of growth. It was really quite amazing, and I related to her growth quite personally because a lot of it was about seeing herself as worthy of living and of receiving help from other people, and that she doesn't only exist to sort of make sure other people are okay and take care of them. And also realizing that although she was very young, getting into that marriage and being kind of naive about the whole thing, to stop blaming herself for it and to go, this was just a bad situation, doesn't mean there's something wrong with me. So I quite enjoyed that. So yeah, I like that she has a little bit more of a backstory, She's lived a life, and that makes her quite a substantive character. Then there's Ilrith, who is the Siren Duke. He is very vanilla, which there's nothing particularly wrong with that, but yeah, it just didn't capture my attention that much. He just kind of felt like a cardboard cutout of like good guy prince type. And I didn't really feel that much towards him. It was nice that, they ended up happy, and I can say that, even though I don't want to give spoilers because it's in the blurb, but it is a happily ever after. But, I was happy for them, but I didn't really feel anything particular towards Ilrith, and I also couldn't really imagine what he looks like while I was reading. Then I didn't really feel much of anything towards the other characters. They didn't really make an impact, didn't have much of an opinion on them. None of them were fully fleshed out characters. It just felt like I was just reading and going, oh yeah, these other people, whatever. I just want to finish this book and get to the point. So yeah, I'm gonna go 3.5 out of 5 stars for character, and most of that is for Victoria herself. Then romance. So romance is what Elise Kova does, and she's really good at it. This and Victoria's character is essentially what kept me reading this book. Ilrith and Victoria are well suited for each other. and they understand each other. They have similar issues, similar things they've had to work through in their past, and it's almost, they also have this similar kind of personality of wanting to carry everyone else and everyone else's problems, and be the one who doesn't need help but who helps everyone else, and who just kind of keeps everything together. And I think for them, finding each other and being able to rely on each other is quite lovely to read. I wish that she'd elaborated a bit more on being a songmate and what that meant between these two, because the term is sort of thrown around that, there's something like songmates, which I assume is something like a soulmate-ish thing, but it's never really explained really what it is. And there's kind of indications and talk that Ilrith and Victoria are songmates, but they never really 100% confirm it, and it's never explained any further. So I just wish that had been elaborated on more, or just left out if it wasn't going to be really capitalized on. Both of these characters are mature and logical. They carry the world on their shoulders. They're not particularly reckless without a reason. They think things through, and they're not impulsive characters, but they do still go all out for love in the end. So even though they shouldn't do certain things, they end up doing them because they really, really do love each other. And that is also, for a romance reader's heart, that's great. The sex scenes were well written, like Elise's usually is, but I didn't really feel it because I was kind of meh towards Ilrith, but that's just me. So for the romance, I'm going to go 3.8 out of 5. Then writing style. There were beautiful, beautiful lines in this book. I highlighted so many beautiful lines and lines that really resonated with me. But it was also unobtrusive, so it was easy to read, but still quite poetic and beautiful and impactful. I really do love this author's writing style, so I'm gonna say that's a 4.5 out of 5 for me. And then there's overall enjoyment. Now listen, I did binge a huge part of it, though it might not sound like it. But I also struggled to get myself to pick it up. So I read a little bit of it and then kind of just let it lie there. And it took forever to get me to go back. But then when I went back, I kind of binged a lot of it. It was okay, but it wasn't much more than that. I don't regret reading it, but I'm definitely not going to read it again. Or if someone compares a book to this, that's not necessarily going to get me to want to read that book. I'll definitely be picking up the next book, but this one was my least favorite in the series. My favorite in the series was actually A Dance with the Fae Prince, and I don't know whether that is because, I really like Fae and I'm not really into sirens. I think the thing with this book is it's very much personal preference. So, elves, yes. Fae, yes. Vampire, yes. The next book is about, I think, a wolf shifter or something. Yes, sure. But sirens, I don't know, just not for me, and I've never really felt a specific desire to read anything about sirens. I struggle to imagine things happening underwater. But for someone who's really into sirens or even mermaids, something like that, this book might be amazing. For me, the overall enjoyment was about a 3 out of 5. And so the overall score for A Duet with the Siren Duke by Elise Kova is 3.55 out of 5. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Remember to hit that subscribe button and ring that little bell. As always, you can find me on my website, Instagram, Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, TikTok, and BookBub. All the links are listed below, and then I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.